This video will demonstrate the histology of the male and the female reproductive system. In the male anatomy, we will be looking at the testes, specifically at the seminiferous tubules, which are highly coiled structures where spermatozoa develop. For the female anatomy, we will be looking at the ovary, which is the gonad, again, where the oocytes or eggs develop, specifically in little structures called follicles. And we'll also be looking at the mammary gland, which is where milk is produced, and we'll be looking at inactive and active tissue. For the gonads, I will be looking at the Ohio State University Medical Center, and for the mammary gland, I will be using slides from the University of Michigan School of Medicine. Alright, this is a slide of the testes, or the testis, which would be 1. And as I zoom in here, you can see that I have a whole bunch of different areas here because of the coiled nature of the seminiferous tubule. I see several different coils of that tube here. And so as we get a little bit closer, the cells in between the seminiferous tubule would be called the interstitial cells. And then we would have some nurse cells within the seminiferous tubule that are going to be helping the production process. At the very bottom here would be the spermatogonium, those stem cells. Then we would have a primary spermatocyte, and as we get closer to the lumen, we would have the maturing spermatids. And so these would be some immature spermatids. These are spermatids that are almost fully developed and ready to be released. And in each layer here, I should see some of those phases. So I should see the spermatogonium at the very edge, and then they're going through the process of spermatogenesis, and then as I get to the lumen, I should see these spermatids. They're starting to look like sperm. But these small cells here, these round ones, are the sperm cells that have not undergone spermiogenesis, or that physical maturation process yet. Alright, here is a slide of the ovary, and this is actually a cat ovary. I chose that because it's going to show more of these follicles in development than the human ovary does. But here we have on the outside, we have these primordial follicles. These are the cells that they kind of halted here before puberty, before birth actually. They halted here. And like this would be one egg nest, and here would be another egg nest. And they're just waiting here until puberty to be stimulated by follicle-stimulating hormone, because they're primordial follicles. And so when the follicle-stimulating hormone begins to be secreted, these start developing, and we would get a primary, hang on, let me find one here, a primary follicle right here. And so we can see these cells around here. The oocyte is developing in the center. Then we go to a secondary follicle, and here I can see that there are 2 layers surrounding the oocyte. Here it looked like there was only 1, so that's kind of what leads me to believe that this is a primary follicle. This would be a secondary follicle. And then as it continues to develop, in the human, only one of these would fully develop into a tertiary follicle, or sometimes called the Graafian follicle, because this contains the ovum that is going to be ovulated. And most humans, females, only ovulate 1 egg at a time. And so we have several layers of cells around here. And then this is the oocyte. Here is what's called the corona radiata. It's just 1, maybe 2 layers of cells protecting the oocyte. There was the oocyte, and then this kind of clear layer between the two is going to be called the zona pellucida. Lucid means clear, so the zona pellucida. And then this kind of what looks like an empty space right here is going to be the antrum. And then I believe there's another tertiary follicle over here, a much larger one, but it still has all the same features. Here's the oocyte, kind of a clear layer around it. That's going to be the zona pellucida. You have the corona radiata, the cells surrounding it. Then this big space here would be the antrum. So these are the different types of, and then see, you can see some more of those primordial follicles here on the outside. Okay, now I'm going to go to the mammary gland. Okay, this is a slide of an inactive mammary gland. And so we do have some ducts here, and these are the tissues that will be producing milk. And then we see a whole lot of dense, irregular connective tissue. There's also some adipose tissue over here. There's a few blood vessels. But most of the tissue that you see on this slide is going to be this dense irregular. And that's going to lead you to know that this is an inactive mammary gland. Now let's compare that with an active mammary gland. So now we have almost completely taken over this tissue with these lobules that are now producing lots of breast milk. They're going to be going through the ducts here. And so then I see very, very little of that dense irregular connective tissue. Here's some, but almost the entire slide is taken over by these active tissue, active glands here producing breast milk. So again, this is a slide of an inactive mammary gland. So hopefully you can see the difference fairly easily between those two. And I hope this presentation helps you understand the histology of the reproductive system.